Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today's session is about clarity, not urgency, not pressure. As you may know, Microsoft has announced an end of support date for Dynamics GP. And while that date is still a few years out, the real question for most organizations isn't, do we need to act today? It's, how do we think about this intelligently? This session is designed to help business leaders understand the landscape, separate signal from noise, and begin forming a plan that protects stability today while creating options for the future. Today, we will share our thoughts on what current GP organizations should be considering. We'll showcase a number of solutions, including a discussion of the current state of GP and how Centerprism helps fill certain gaps, a demo of Business Central's agentic AI capabilities, a demo of Covenant's Tariff Agent, a showcase of eOne, which is a leading data migration option, and a pricing comparison for Business Central. As I mentioned, GP's sunset date is December 31st, 2019. Companies that plan early, keep control, and companies that wait are forced into decisions they wouldn't otherwise choose. What this webinar is not, it is not a drop everything and migrate now pitch. It's not a deep technical deep dive into tables, codes, or extensions, and it's not a sales demo disguised as a webinar. This truly is a decision clarity session for business leaders that are running GP today. More about what it is. It's a clear explanation of Microsoft's GP roadmap and what it actually means. It's a business level review of realistic paths forward. We hope to provide guidance to you to help you sequence your decisions, not rush them. And it's insight from teams that are actively working today with GP and Business Central customers as we speak. Our goal is that after the webinar, you know what questions you should be asking, even if you're not yet ready to move. Again, the real question at this point isn't if, it's how and when. Because GP does remain a stable and supported platform today. But we know that ecosystems change. Talent moves on. Integrations, well, they just have to be maintained, and you've got an innovation investment. The smartest organizations are creating their options early, and Business Central is one of those options. It's not the only conversation, but it is a central one. Some of the common concerns that we see our GP customers have today, and these are real, they state, we can't afford operational disruption. Our customizations work. Why would we risk breaking them? And, we don't have the bandwidth for a massive ERP project right now, or we don't even know where to start. If these sound familiar, then this is exactly who this session is for. We would propose a smarter way to think about the next 3 to 5 years. Instead of thinking about an ERP replacement, think about your ERP strategy. Instead of big bang, think in terms of phases, not cutovers. So protect today's stability while enabling the future growth. Align your ERP decisions to your business models, your reporting needs. If you have any M&A opportunities coming ahead, the scale of your organization, and what are your goals around modernization? So again, this isn't about replacing GP, it's about being positioned for what comes next. So next up, we're going to have a demonstration of Centerprism. And what I would ask you to watch out for is 2 really great features. The first thing that you'll see is a demonstration of Prism View. And that at its core is a very powerful data analysis capability within Centerprism. So watch out for that. And then we'll also see a demonstration of the order entry enhancements. And so what Centerprism does there is it puts a front end on top of the underlying ERP and allows for much more efficient order entry and order entry processing. So let's take a look at that demo now.
Thank you, David. My name is Michael, and I'm going to show you a couple different features here in Centerprism. First, our Prism View, which is a data analysis tool that allows users to quickly and easily find the data they're looking for, as well as a few different features in our order entry that makes it faster and easier for people to enter and make sales. So first, we're going to look at the Prism View here, and the view I have open on my screen right now shows general ledger journal transactions. So, and I have it set here to show me all my general ledger transactions for the last 12 months. I could change the date range filter here, but so we have all these columns here with different information. I could click on any of them to sort. So if I click on my account description here, it will sort by that. If I click again, it will sort the other way. I can do that with any column, but I could also, if there is information I am wanting to see here, in the corner here we have the field chooser, and I could add additional columns, and I could add or take away columns. So if I, say I don't really need to see these with the different segments, well, I could just click and take them away, and just like that, the column is gone, or I could click and bring it back, or a different column, depending on what I wanted to see. But one of the most powerful things about the Prism View is the ability to group information. So if I take my account description here and I just click and drag it, now everything is grouped by account description. So here's all my different descriptions, but I could also do the same thing again. Like if I take my series here, and now I can, so I could look at my inventory account here, and then I could see, under my inventory I have inventory, purchasing, and sales transactions. And if I click on the plus sign here, I can expand it out. And for any of these groupings, we do get a subtotal. So I can see here I have a total amount for, at the top of the screen, for my credits and debits, but now under my inventory warehouse account, and then under my sales series, it produces totals for both my debits and credits. And on any of these, I can just double click on the journal entry, and now it takes me to the original total journal entry, so I can see all of my distributions here. And then you can see here in the top left corner, we have our original document number here is an invoice. Well, if I click on the hyperlink for the document number, it's going to load. Now, this is the information on the original invoice transaction. So in just 2 clicks of our mouse here, we've gone from looking at a general ledger distribution to now I'm looking at the original sales invoice that generated that general ledger distribution. So very powerful tool that allows you to see the information that you are looking for. Okay, we're going to look at one other application here, the Prism View. We're going to go to our receivables here. So now we're looking at receivables here, and these are all entries from customers that owe me money for a sales they haven't paid me yet. And we can do the same sort of thing here with the Prism View, where I can click on any customer here. I can click on my customer name here. Now I'm sorting by customer name. I can also do the same thing with the grouping. So while I have totals here of my dollar amounts, if I group it by customer here, and I can see this customer has 3 different receivables transactions. And when I click on the plus sign here, not only can I see those 3 individual receivables transactions, but I can also see a total just for this customer, not. And similar to the others, we can do as many of these groupings as we want. We can do multiple, or we can add or remove columns as necessary. So, and if you actually want to remove a column, like if I want to remove this address column, I can just click here and drag it and get rid of it. So And then one other thing we're going to go through here on receivables, if I change, we have these built-in views here, and if I click on this aging summary, now I'm seeing one entry per customer. So these are all the customers here that owe me money. And in this case, I can see the customer number, but if I want to see the customer name, I can click on the field chooser here and get the customer name, and then you see it shows up here. But if I wanted to move that so it's at the front, I can just click and drag it, and now my customer name that I added to the view shows up right here. And then now if I need to send out statements, because I'm sure some customers will say, send me a statement and then I will send you a payment. Well, on the left-hand side here, I just select the customers I want to send a statement to, and if I can click at the top here and select all of my customers, but if I only want to send statements to a handful of customers, I just click here. Click the ones I want to send a statement to, and then at the top left area, this print statements button, I can click on that and print 3 statements for these 3 customers, or I can click on the email statements button here, and when I do that, I'm going to get a little email preview, and then the email preview here just takes a few seconds here to load. And in this case, I picked 3 customers more or less at random. They don't have email addresses, but I could. These ones do have other email addresses, so I click it here to add in the email address for the customer, and then I could hit the preview all to see preview or the emails, or I could just hit the send all to send these emails out to these customers. Okay, so the Prism view is very powerful. There's a lot of different things you can do with it, and it's integrated into pretty much any type of information you could be looking for. Okay, let's talk about order entry here. So now we're going to talk about a few different features in Centerprism order entry that make it quicker and easier for you to enter and make sales. So, first thing we need to do in our order here is add a customer. If I know the customer's name, I can just start typing, and when I type, and then it finds the customer for me. Once I type the first few letters of their name here. Okay, so now we picked our customer, and now we want to add items to our order. There's a number of ways to do that, but if we bring up the lookup here, so now I'm looking at my entire inventory. Obviously, I could just scroll through, but that's not very helpful. But in any of these, I can search in any of these columns that appear on my screen here. So under my description, when I type in drill, so I can just like with the other screens here, we can sort by any of these columns. So if I want to, sort by my primary vendor, I could also do the same thing with the grouping. So if I want to group by the primary vendor here, so now they're grouped. So I have the first vendor there, but now I can see, okay, I have 9 different items from this vendor, etc. And then I can find the vendor I want there in reverse order, because I clicked on that column, and then we can add items to our order. We can also, if I scroll up here, okay, so now we're looking for items just from this one vendor, and I can, if they want to buy multiple products from the same vendor, I can just click here, and now I can add instead of having to do 3 different searches, I can add these 3 items all at once. So just in a single search there, we've added 3 items to our order, and then I need to tell it how many of these I want to buy, how many the customer wants to buy. And then when I'm trying to sell something that they don't have, I get a warning here if I need to back order or if we have them in stock. Okay, so yeah, from the search we can add multiple items at once if they need to buy several items rather than having to type each in individually. Also, we have the sales advisor here. There's a sales advisor button here, and when I click on this, this brings up the sales history for this customer, and it tells me how many times they have bought each item. So I can see here, this top item here, they've bought 2,200 times, and then next item, and then it goes down from there, and I can click on any of these to expand and see, and I can sort by the date here, so I can see the last handful of times that the customer bought this item, and then if they want to buy more, I can, or I can maybe if it's something they buy all the time, I might want to suggest that they buy more, but I can put in a quantity here of, they want to buy 20 of these. And then at the bottom here, I have the option to calculate the price or use the document price. So I can either, what is the price I'm selling it for today? Or I can click here and say, oh, well, when they bought this, we charged them 7 cents, so we're going to charge the same amount now. But let's hit the calculate price here. And then, just adds that order, adds that item to my order with a quantity of 20. Okay, and then a couple other features here. Price memorization. So all of my items here have a price, obviously, and I can, if I have quick permissions, I can click here and enter a new price, $55.75. And then when I do that, I get this pop-up here. Do I want to charge this customer this price on future orders? If I click no, then this will be a one-time price, but I can click yes here. And then I can determine how long I want that price to be for. So it assumes I want to do it for 60 days, but I could type in 85 days, and it will calculate how long that will be in the future. So when I hit OK, so now for the next 85 days, when this same customer comes in and buys the same item, they will get this custom price that I entered. And every time I do that, the system records the date, the time, and the user that did it. So if you can go back in history and see who's the person that entered that price and what day did they do it on, you can go back and track that. Okay, and then one other item we're going to look at here is the margin manager. So over on the right-hand side here, underneath my document total, I can see my total margin for this order, and I can actually see the margin for the individual items. But I can click here and expand this. So now I can see, same 4 items and same in my margin, but I can edit the margin for multiple items at once. So if I want to do a percent margin here, and I know I want to get a 30% margin on these items that I'm selling, and then up here at the top, I can just click on the items that I want. Let's say I know for these 2 items I need to get a 30% margin. I would just click them here, and then I can hit the calculate button here, and that will, I can see here's my new 30% margin, what my new unit price is going to be, and then when I hit update, so this item here, we have a 30% margin, and when I click on the other item, I can see it's 29.99 because it rounded to the nearest cent. Okay, a few other features here we'll talk about real quick here. So when I highlight an item, at the bottom of my screen here, by default, I see the quantities. So I can see my quantities on hand, quantity available, quantity on order, etc. But I can also see other information. So if I want to see sales history for this item, I can click on my invoices here, and now I can see all of my invoices for this item, and I can sort them. Just like any other screens, I can sort by any of the columns by clicking on them. I can also group. I can also filter. So if I want to say, I only want to see invoices for this customer we are working with right now. Well, when I click on this, I can see all the customers that have bought this. But if I click on here, now we are just looking at, here are invoices for this customer where they have bought the item that I have highlighted above. So I can quickly and easily see my sales history with all customers or with one customer in particular. And then last thing we're going to, orders completed, and the customer is going to give me some money. I can just type in the amount that they've given me, $320 in cash here, and then I hit my pay button. And then set all this up beforehand, but when I hit the cash button here, it's going to tell me my change due, hit OK, and it brings up the print screen here. I can print a order, a packing slip, and a pick ticket all at once if I would like. I'm going to hit the run reports here. These are going to pop up on the screen here. So obviously I printed all these to the screen, but we could have printed them to a physical printer, so I don't need to. I can print the order, the pick ticket, and the packing slip all at once, and you can decide by default to print any one of those three or two out of the three or whatever you would need. So that's a quick look here at a couple of features in Centerprism, the Prism view, which is the data analysis tool, as well as some features in order entry that make quicker and easier for you to be able to enter sales.
Okay, thanks, Mike, for that demo. We really appreciate that. And so just, again, a slight recap here. Again, you saw Prism View and that powerful data analytics capabilities. And we also went through the order entry and how that makes that process much more efficient. So great demo of Centerprism there. And next up, we've got Ward showing us some of the AI functionality in Business Central. Ward?
Right. Thank you, David. One of the most powerful tools to come to the world of ERP is the ability to leverage agentic AI to increase efficiency and to minimize errors. Business Central now features native integration with Microsoft Copilot in finance, sales, and purchasing. We'll take a small walk through some of the functionality that's baked into BC and take a look at how these will affect your day-to-day operations. In this walkthrough, I'm going to demonstrate how agentic AI is going to streamline the process for payables. AI will capture and interpret vendor invoices, automatically create draft purchase invoices. It'll do the built-in validation, exception handling, and approval checkpoints. And it's going to reduce how much manual effort is involved in the process. Now, leveraging agentic AI within Business Central is a built-in, baked-in prospect at this point. Copilot has functionality for agentic AI in financing, sales, and purchasing. In this demo, we're going to walk through how payables will process, but sales is directly available. And this is where your process is going to benefit the most in terms of ROI. There's also natural language analysis available, so you're able to put in human written requests to access data and get values that you can use in your daily work. The governance for the environments is able to be configured at the granular level within each tenant, allowing specific individuals to be authorized and approved to leverage different tools as needed. In this environment, we've already configured the agent in the admin center, and we've activated the agent in Business Central for specific users to process emails received against a shared account. We'll walk through how invoices are recorded from our vendor and how the agent can streamline the payables process. On this screen, we see that I'm logged in as Alan Steiner. Alan is a vendor of ours, has sent an email containing an invoice attachment to our shared payables inbox. So once he sent that, Alan is done with his job. Now we'll see how that email is received and processed within BC, leveraging our payables agent. Returning to Business Central, if I'm one of the users in the finance team that's been responsible for monitoring the shared inbox, I will therefore have been configured to leverage the payables agent, and so I will see a notification in the upper right-hand corner of my screen telling me that there's something to be monitored. Clicking on the notification, I'll see the inbox where we received the email from Alan. Here I can review the message by selecting it, and then I can open up the attachment for review. Now the body of this email is easily accessible from the foreground, and then you can see the attached document which has been sent by the vendor. At this point, finance carefully reviews all the details, the line items, all the associated costs from the attached invoice that was sent from the vendor. Once finance confirms the invoice on the attachment looks correct, they will confirm that the invoice can be brought into BC. After confirmation, the payables agent then takes that information and it creates the document that's associated in Business Central, and we can review that here. And this is where there's a new stage that you will not be familiar with, even if you're used to BC to this point. It's called a purchase draft stage, which is what you're looking at here. It's not a purchase invoice yet, it's just a draft. And with any process, you'll want to review before finalizing the draft. You'll notice that Business Central provides a number of different suggestions. In this case, 3 fields, which require review by the user. So depending on the tooltip you see by pointing at the field, you can see what the payables agent is suggesting. Again, depending on what you have on the document, once I'm satisfied with the accuracy, I'll go ahead and confirm it. Next slide. And now you'll see the last step is to finalize the draft. And then that draft document is converted or finalized to an official purchase invoice, an official document inside Business Central. From here, I would go ahead and again, follow the same finance and accounting principles to verify the input. Once everything looks correct, I can go ahead and post the invoice if it's that point. You can always come back to see the trail, that audit trail under the e-documents at the top of the document. So if you want to look at the document source or the draft, that's available to review here. So as we've gone through, Business Central has agentic AI through Copilot built in to its basic process for sales and purchase payables processing. This is something that will capture information coming directly from your emails, attachments, leverage all the normal verifications and validations of data, allow for review, and minimize human intervention in processing inbound payables. And at this point, I'm going to hand this to Rachel.
My name is Rachel Palia. I am a consultant at Covenant Technology Partners. I just hit my 5th year anniversary, actually, and I work predominantly in the Power Platform space. I manage a team, and we do, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Pages, Power BI, in addition to a lot of SharePoint work. So today what I'm going to demo for you is a Tariff Agent. And so this agent was built in Copilot Studio and is essentially a proof of concept agent. So there's a lot of extensibility that could happen, a lot of integrations, a lot of bells and whistles that could be added. But really, we just wanted to demonstrate the art of the possible. So I am going to share my screen. Okay. So a couple of things we have wired up in here is we have it connected to essentially a SharePoint library that has a couple of PDFs and a couple of Excel files that were pulled from the Harmonized Tariff Schedule website, particularly chapters 17 and 18. We also have 2 data burst tables. One is a kind of dummy inventory table, and another one is kind of just a dummy supplier table. So we have some test data in here. And then here, for example, is the spreadsheet related to chapter 17 in our SharePoint library. So we have a couple of prompts. The first one that we're going to do is check a rate. So what I'm looking for is I want to input a rate, and I wanted to return the rate of duty, so the percentage that it'll be taxed. I believe that's correct. I'm no tariff expert, but I think this one is related to corn syrup, fructose, some kind of syrup. Okay, so other fructose or fructose syrup containing blah, blah, blah is the description, and then the import duty rate is typically free. So I was looking forward to reference that spreadsheet, and that's the result that I wanted. So next, let's take a little look at checking an inventory. So this one, I wanted to reference our dataverse table that has inventory in it. So kind of just a quick way to kind of check particularly what item A has for quantity. So here it gave me kind of an overview. So I have copper cable, I have 200 units, and then they're at $40 each. Also provided me a little supplier information. PVC pipe, we have 120 units, and that one's at 22 each. Okay, that was good. Next, I'm going to ask about a supplier. Okay, what can I tell you about suppliers? I would like to know what suppliers are in the United States. Okay, no suppliers were found in the United States as their country. All right, let's see. Let me ask again, or ask about a supplier. Are there any in Germany? Okay, I have at least one supplier in Germany, and it gave me the name, Delta Inc. Okay, last thing, let's ask a question. So for this one, I really wanted to target the PDF, which is a long document. And usually when you have those structured documents that you're working in regularly, you get kind of familiar with the sections. And so the particular section that I'm targeting is, what does this not cover? So I'm going to ask it, what does chapter 17 not cover? Cue the Jeopardy music. This one is a little bit of a longer document, so I'm not surprised. Okay. So here, specifically excludes the following topics. So sugar confectionery containing cocoa, chemically pure sugars, and medicaments and other products of chapter 30. So this is exactly what I was looking for. So we did a couple of things. We checked a rate, we checked an inventory, we asked about a supplier, and we asked a question. So this is in its entirety kind of just a simplistic tariff agent. Some of the extensibility points that you could do is set up a direct integration with the harmonized tariff schedule, for example. So right now we kind of have some static files in there. That information doesn't change that often. But if you wanted to have a direct integration, there's an API that could be leveraged. If there's particular sections that you are referencing, or maybe you have a different document set that needs to get referenced outside of the harmonized tariff schedule, those are some additional functionalities that you can do. As well as you could add some automation behind it. So for example, if there's a workflow, or if something is happening above a certain threshold, you need to send an email or do a Teams pop-up notification. Those are all options. So again, just our quick little demo of a tariff agent that is kind of catered to the harmonized tariff schedule, and referencing some Dataverse tables. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks, David. My name is Cameron Hagstrom. I'm joined by my colleague, Tyler Epping today. We work for eOne Solutions. What we do is we provide tools that help organizations integrate systems, migrate data, and report improve reporting without needing any heavy development. And our goal is to make it easier to connect to systems, move data where it needs to go, and give your teams better access to the information you need. And today, we're here to talk about and focus on ERP migrations and walk through a strategy that's going to help simplify that process and reduce your migration risk. Before we talk about migration strategy, I think it's helpful to understand why ERP migrations often struggle in the first place. In most cases, this isn't an issue of the new ERP system. It's the approach we're taking during the migration. Projects are going to run into trouble when there isn't a clear migration plan, when teams are trying to move, decades of historical data, and when poor data quality is going to get carried into the new system. And another common challenge is when you're working with partners who may not have deep experience with these BC migrations, they don't know Business Central, or they don't know your business processes. And when these things happen, projects are going to become more complex. They're going to get incredibly expensive, and they're going to take much longer than expected. The good news is that many of these challenges can be avoided with a different approach to migration. So instead of trying to move everything all at once, successful migrations really start by breaking down the data into 3 different classes. So these 3 classes of data exist no matter what system we're migrating from. The first class of data is master data. This is the data that's going to drive transaction entry. This is customers, vendors, items, chart of accounts, BOMs. You're going to need all of this to be moved into Business Central. The next class is opening balances, and opening balances is what gives your new system its starting point. It's, things like GL balances, open receivables, payables, unshipped sales orders. And then that third class of data is historical data, and this is going to typically be your largest set of data. This is everything that your users need to view and report on or reference, but usually never edit. And once we break these migrations into these 3 data classes, our next step is deciding how to handle each one. And this is exactly where our eOne Solutions platform fits in. Next. When it comes to master data, users can clean and prepare master data, such as chart of accounts, customers, vendors, items directly in Excel. Then you can push that data into Business Central using our integration tool SmartConnect and our Excel add-in. What this does is going to provide you immediate feedback on any errors. It's going to allow for quicker reprocessing and makes the process of migrating about 70% faster than traditional configuration packages. When it comes to opening balances, we use our tool SmartConnect to handle that integration between the GL balances, the open receivables, the payables. What it does is it connects directly to GP and to Business Central. We create a map, and we ensure that transactional starting point is accurate and automated so your teams can begin transacting immediately after go live. And then when it comes to history, we have a tool called Popdock. And instead of migrating your entire historical data set, which can be costly and unnecessary, your historical data can be pushed into an Azure data lake. All your GP tables, your views, your smart lists will live in this data lake. And Popdock then surfaces that data directly inside of Business Central through real-time queryable lists. And what this does is allow your teams to access invoices, GL details, customer history, records without cluttering down or slowing down Business Central. When you reduce the complexity of the migration itself, something important happens. Your timeline is going to become much more flexible. You're going to gain the ability to move forward when it makes most sense for your business. And you don't have to rush into a cloud migration before you're ready. You can continue running your current system while you're still modernizing how your teams access and work with your data. And what this means is you can move to the cloud when the timing makes sense for your business, for your team, and your overall strategy. Next up is my colleague, Tyler Epping. He's going to show you our tool Popdock and how you can access history within BC.
Thanks, Cam. So yeah, I just want to spend a couple minutes here today really showcasing Popdock and how, it is a great tool to be able to really preserve your investment in GP by giving you access to really the full historical Dynamics GP data set once you've migrated off of GP. But also want to highlight how this is a tool that you can use going forward with, Business Central or whatever other solutions you might be using that really allows you to have that smart list style reporting experience for those different applications. So you can see I'm in Business Central right now, and we have an extension that can be installed directly into BC. And what this is, when I hit this drop down, is what we call a multi-list widget inside of Popdock. It contains data from different systems that we've set up connectors for. So not only does it contain data from this live Business Central environment, which you can see with a lot of these more standard naming groups. So, we have some financial based lists pointing to live BC data, fixed assets, inventory, purchasing, sales. But you can also see some groups of data that we've either migrated to a data lake, or we might be connecting to that on-premise solution that we're making available to you as a user working inside of Business Central without having to migrate all of that history into Business Central. Before I jump and show you an example of one of those historical lists, I just want to utilize this purchase transactions list and really highlight the end user experience that Popdock provides when working with different data sets. This is really going to be that smart list style reporting experience, but it can be really for any of your business applications, and we can really make it available embedded inside of the solutions that you're working in. So inside of this interface, there's a bunch of functionality that allows users to really easily ask questions of their data. They can go in, they can do things like add additional columns. You can see whenever you do that, all the columns get added at the end. You'll notice I selected one field that has no data in it. So if I wanted to remove that field from my grid, it's just as easy to do so. Everything inside of this interface is all drag and drop. So if we wanted to move document date to the front, we could drag it to the front. We can also do grouping within this interface. So if we wanted to group our purchase transactions by vendor name, you can see that whenever we do groupings, you would get subtotaling by group, and you can have multiple levels of those groupings as well. Another big thing within this interface is applying filters. Coming from GP, if you were used to using Smart List, inside of GP, you might have been used to the 4 filter limit. That's something that Popdock eliminates. You can have as many filters as you want. You can mix ands with ors. So a lot of power in terms of being able to ask questions of your data. Once you've provided the filters that you want in a list, you could hit save, and Popdock would then go requery whatever the source of the list is to return back those records. And then from there, you can do things like create favorites, which is very similar to Smart List favorites in GP, allowing you to configure lists and be able to access them so that you don't have to recreate your list every single time you want to see it. A couple other things that I'll point out within this interface, if you have a multi-company environment, we can make these lists multi-company as well. So you'll notice that in this case, I have 2 different companies within this environment, where if I select that EU company and tab off, you'll notice that we now have a new company field that just tells us what company these records are coming from. So if you have multi-company environments, we can make these views multi-company just with a couple of clicks. And the last thing that I'll point out is the ability to drill down. We can see related information to other lists of data. So at the very bottom here, you'll notice we have 2 different carets. If I select this lines caret and then select one of the records within my purchase transactions list, you'll notice that I'm now showing the lines that are tied to this specific document number. So in essence, there's a lot of functionality that's built into this Popdock interface that we can embed directly in Business Central and allow you to work with data from, it could be historical GP data sitting in a data lake, it could be live BC data, or really any data from other business applications that you might be using. So I'm going to hit this drop-down menu and show you just an example of a common scenario that we see in migration scenarios where people want to see more of a life-to-date view of historical data. So GP history that might be sitting in a data lake with ongoing data within your new system. So in this case, Business Central. Well, this is something that we can help facilitate with Popdock. We have the ability to build out custom lists. So not only can we show historical data as is, so your historical smart list or tables and views, but we can also combine it with Business Central data that you've accrued as you kind of move into your new system. This is an example of what we call a merge list inside of Popdock, where we've merged together sales lines from a historical GP environment with live Business Central data. You'll notice whenever we create a merge list, one of the default columns that gets created is this source connector column. It just basically tells us where this record lives. So when I scroll down on this first page, you'll notice all the records being returned are pointing to live Business Central data. But if I jump over to another page here and scroll down, you're starting to see records that are coming from a historical GP environment. So when it comes to historical data, like I had mentioned just a second ago, if you want to see your historical data as is, just available for you inside of Business Central, we can very easily make that available through this Popdock widget that you're seeing here. But taking it one step further, if there's any views that you would like to see more of a life-to-date view of history with ongoing data inside of BC, then that's something that Popdock can help facilitate as well. Now, I wanted to show one other example just inside of Business Central. In addition to working with this multi-list view where you can change the view of data that's being presented, we do also have the ability to embed Popdock on different pages inside of BC, which allows us to pass in context from those pages. So when I scroll down on this customer card here, you'll notice that I have this additional detail tab. And what you're seeing contained is a Popdock interface. This is a single list view, so it's always showing me the same list. However, you'll notice that the data that's being returned is contextual to the customer card or the customer number that we're on. So all the records being returned within this list are specific to this customer. Now, this is another example of one of those merged views where we've taken Business Central data, we've merged it with historical GP data. We're just now making it available on different pages inside of Business Central. And then from there can really provide the same end user experience to allow users to then filter that data down and ask questions of their data. So this is just a couple of examples that I wanted to show that really highlights kind of the Popdock experience displayed within Business Central. Again, with Popdock, we really give you the ability to provide access to that full GP historical data set. Once you've moved off to GP, we can make that available to you as a user inside of Business Central without having to move all of that history into the new system. So with that, I'm going to toss it back to Cam, and I think he's just got one more summary slide just to kind of recap our eOne tools.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. That was awesome. Really, just to summarize what we talked about today, successful migrations really boil down to strategy at the end of the day. Start by defining the right approach and avoiding that temptation to move everything. Focus on migrating that operational data that you actually need to run the business and keep your historical data accessible and automate integrations whenever it's possible. When you approach your migration this way, you're going to reduce your risk, you're going to shorten your timelines, and ultimately you're going to be able to move to the cloud when the timing is right for your organization. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Ward to cover licensing considerations.
All right, thank you. Business Central has two key areas of licensing available for users. As we see here, we have Premium and Essentials. Both are billed on a per month basis at 1 year per billing. The difference between Premium and Essential is based on the areas of access within the system. Most users will be able to fall within the Essentials category, whereas Premium will have all access to all areas in the system. The primary difference between Premium and Essentials falls under manufacturing and service order management. Both will have access to financial management, sales and purchasing, inventory supply chain, project management, reporting and approvals, read-only access, update transactions, and system setup. In addition to these primary licenses, there are also more refined licenses for specific use cases. The three we see here are the team member license, which is $8 per month, provides a named user with full read access. There is a device license. It's meant for handheld scanners or other devices that connect to the system. And then there's the external account license. The account license allows for access to accounting configurations and reporting, and period end working only. So this allows for there to be a nuanced set of licenses configured for the company's needs without any extraneous licenses assigned. And back to you, David.
All right, thank you very much, Ward, and thanks to all of our presenters today. We really appreciate everyone who's taking the time out to either join us live or watch this replay. And we really do think there's a lot of information in the presentation today. We hope that you find something useful, some or all of it useful. What we've got on the screen now is some QR codes for you to reach out to myself. You can reach out to our company webpage, get back to eOne, and take a look at their specific migration page. So we really appreciate your time today. Again, hopefully this did give you some insight into items you should be thinking about as a GP user and where the future might take you. Thanks again.